The Sean Singh YouTube channel is all about giving viewers a behind the scenes look at what business is really like. In today's video, you're going to see the feedback I gave to my team on how to create company brochures. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
As I often talk about subject matter experts, right, they can, like I say, I really like the example of a fitness expert. You know what a push-up is, I know what a push-up is, the whole world knows what a push-up is. And we could get an expert, let's say from the Navy SEALs, or we could get, someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they will just decimate what you think a push-up is, right? So that is what an expert is. I like that analogy, right? The information is ubiquitous, it's all prevalent, and everybody knows the topic and theme. And an expert can do two things. One, they will tell you something which you never knew. So the analogy of that might be something along the lines of, a couple of years ago, intermittent fasting became a really big thing. And 5-10 years ago, nobody knew what that was. And only an expert would know. And the second thing is they can take widely known knowledge, like a push-up, and decimate what you think what a push-up is, right? So an expert can literally create a paradigm shift in your understanding of something that you think is common knowledge. So the point here is that anytime subject matter experts help us do one of those two things, it's great content. And only when we are not doing one of those two things, and this is the key point to reiterate, and I would say please play this voice memo tomorrow, right? Only when we are not doing that do we get into the kind of sidetracked, is this brochure good or not? The other things like message from CEO, blah, 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 all the other things are really peripherals, right? They're ancillary. We get kind of lost in those details because we don't have one of the two things that I mentioned before. Somebody telling you about intermittent fasting where you're like, I've never even heard this phrase before, what is it? Or somebody coming in saying, hey, guess what? You think a push-up is this, but actually you've got it totally wrong. This is what a push-up is. So if we achieve that, then the brochure by default will be very high quality, right? Does it matter if there's a message from the CEO? These become ancillary arguments. They come to a large extent irrelevant arguments. If somebody is telling me something which is so profound, that is the heart of the matter, right? All the other things are very, very secondary. So I think if subject matter experts can help us create this, the brochures by default become very, very valuable. Now, where do the content writers come into it? I don't completely agree with you when you say the topic should come from the subject matter experts, because getting into that frame of mind to know what to write about, the subject matter experts need help. And to guide them in that direction is where the content writers come into play, because only the content writers know the methodology and the subject matter experts have the knowledge, right? We have the methodology, they have the knowledge. We are trained in that way of thinking, of probing, of teasing out, of dissecting, of reframing, brainstorming, of iterating. That is what we are experts of. We've been of understanding that this is not intuitive, it's counterintuitive. That is where our expertise lies. So you need to really merge the two. It's really a collaborative effort to create content which is valuable. Subject matter experts can't do it on their own because they need to kind of train and focus their mind. So I would say that we need that collaborative effort. We can't leave it to the subject matter experts. We need to guide them. And this is a great example of how content is so much more than just content, right? It's a mindset, it's a belief, it's a thought process, it's a perspective, it's investigating, it's research, it's brainstorming, it's creation, it's out-the-box thinking, it's innovation. This is the real job of a content writer. It's so much work goes into it before pen even touches paper, right? This is the behind the scenes. This is what you have to do pre-writing. So we have to be involved in the process. Absolutely, we have to be involved in the process. And then the second thing is obviously once you have that content, is tailoring the content, shaping it, opening the knowledge gaps, making it attention grabbing, making it look appealing. And then it's working with the information that we've been given to heighten its appeal. So I think, that's how I see it. And I think it'd be, valuable if you share this in the meeting tomorrow, this voice note. And, let me know if that all makes sense and how all the respective stakeholders have received this. But tell me if I'm wrong, or if you have any alternative thoughts. In many respects, the brochures are quite easy if you take this method that I've just explained. The problem is when you are not thinking of content like this. When you start getting into the run-of-the-mill, the standards, the status quo stuff that most organizations pump out, that's when you get lost in the details and the ancillary and really the trivial, right? Great content is great content. If it will shine. You don't need to worry too much about, the introduction or the ending or even the themes. If you have one great thing to say about anything in this world, on any industry, on any topic, one profound thing to say. People will stop, listen, appreciate, and value you for it. Like I said, you don't need to talk about everything in fitness to demonstrate you're an expert. Just explain to me what a push-up is. 99.9% of people cannot do that, and probably even most fitness experts cannot do that. Only the real cream of the cream can break down what a push-up is. So if you are a fitness expert and you were to create a video or a brochure on just what a push-up is, you can convince me you are an expert. You don't need to talk about deadlifting. You don't need to talk. If I just want to assess your competence, I can do that just from seeing how you break down what a push-up is. Because if you can create that paradigm shift in my mind as to what a push-up is, I'm going to be blown away, right? Because only a real expert can do that, can take the general understanding of what a push-up is and decimate it. So you don't need to have all these hundreds points. What is our goal? Our goal with the brochure is to demonstrate we are an expert. Now, if you get somebody from the Navy SEALs, if you get an Army expert, if you get a fitness expert and they say, hey, you are doing a push-up all wrong. After that, are you not going to sit there and think, I think this person's an expert in fitness or weight training or bodybuilding or strength and conditioning or whatever it is, or fitness in general? Are you not going to think that? Do they need to go and talk to you about 101 things? Not necessarily. If they do, that's great. But my point is, to create a great brochure, sometimes just one great thing to say about Magento, say about Python, can be enough as a starting point. And then we keep adding to that. Does that make sense? So let me know, in some respects, we are discussing and debating the wrong thing. Fundamentally, you need the great content. And this is how you create great content. Firstly, what is great content? It's one of those two things. Off the top of my head right now, it's one of those two things. And how do you get to one of those two things? That's where the content writers come into it alongside the subject matter experts. It's a collaborative effort. If we leave it to the SMEs, they won't be able to do it by themselves most of the time. You need the great content, and this is how you create great content. If we leave it to the content writers, obviously they are not subject matter experts. It's combining these two skill sets together, the methodology and the knowledge. If you only have either or, it's like steering a ship which only can move in one direction. You're going to go around in circles. These two skill sets complement each other.